At 35, I felt called to read the Bible in its entirety for the first time. Or if you prefer more secular language, I had a strong intuition that reading it from cover to cover would meaningfully benefit me in some way that I couldn't yet articulate. So naively, I searched Amazon for the Bible, only to find an overwhelming set of choices corresponding to this. So many different translations. How come no one warns you about this? The Bible Bros made it sound so easy. Do you even read the Bible, bro? Hello, there appears to be a serious problem here. We can't even agree on which Bible. Fortunately, having been a startup founder for a decade, I was used to making progress in the midst of unknowns. So here's a tip that applies in all aspects of life. Activity generates data, and data improves decisions. When in doubt, just start doing anything at all related to your goal. In the process, you will generate more data that you can then use to iterate and improve your trajectory. Sitting around and analyzing more doesn't help, okay? So I'd heard of the King James Version, you know, the old classic English translation with the these and the thys, and just started reading the preview. Within a few pages, I already understood that I needed a more modern take to actually understand what was going on. I then saw the ESV and NIV mentioned as alternatives. I started asking questions about the difference between the two, and that's when I stumbled onto the formal versus functional equivalence debate I talked about in a past video. Aha, I was now building a mental map of the universe. All things considered, I settled on the NIV for functional equivalence and its ecumenical nature, meaning that multiple denominations had contributed to it. Since I hadn't figured out what denomination I most aligned with yet, and by the way, that's another can of worms that we'll tackle in a future episode, it seemed like a reasonable set of constraints to initialize with. I assumed I would develop more context as time went on, and perhaps I could try a more formally equivalent Bible, such as the ESV, down the road. And voila, a year later, I was done reading the entire Bible for the first time, and my understanding of Christianity was transformed. So while your path is likely going to be different, and you may even come to a different conclusion in the end, hopefully seeing me apply a technique for generating momentum inspires you to do the same and just get started. So don't sit around, go out there and get some data points for yourself.